else that I know you're watching today is Jack Lew once again has given his dire warning about the debt ceiling. That the funding is, even though the deadline is February 7th, I believe. Yep. The extraordinary measures that can be employed by Treasury are only going to go through the end of the month. So Congress has to act.
That's right. It's a day that ends in Y, so Congress is threatening to go over the debt ceiling, basically what we're dealing with. Here's an interesting thing to watch this time around. Congress is used to, he sets a deadline, and they've got more than a month, 2 months with extraordinary measures. Because of tax refunds, the cash outflows from Treasury right now do not support extraordinary measures for the usual amount of time. That's why end of February is the drop-dead date, according to Jack Lew today. Congress doesn't have the time to dilly-dally right now. They have to do something and do something fast. You know,
Glenn, your firm kind of tries to find creative solutions to persistent problems. And what could be a more persistent problem than the debt ceiling and Washington more broadly? I mean, I'm curious what your take is on, you know, the broad question. I mean, how do you fix Washington? How do you fix the way things are done?
Well, first, I'd say that we're focused on less complicated issues like healthcare and education. But that said, the debt ceiling, I think there's a fundamental problem in Washington, and that is it used to be that there was cooperation when these kinds of issues came about, and that's just not the case anymore. You have really three parties. You have the Tea Party, the Democrats, and the Republicans, and all of them can't seem to get a line there. So I think there's a challenge.
Last time we came up against the debt ceiling and also the fiscal cliff, a lot of businessmen, people in Silicon Valley, came out and urged the government to do something. Does that help or hinder the process?
Well, I think that at the end of the day, we have to do business as a country. And when the rest of the world starts to get destabilized because Washington can't act, that's not good for anyone. It's not good for the rest of the world. It's not good for the U.S. And I think the business of Washington has to be to get the fundamentals done and then allow our thriving economy, our entrepreneurial economy, to do the rest.
Well, there seemed to be progress when we had the budget agreement, right? Everyone sort of heralded that potentially as a turning point,
right?
Mm-hmm. Right. But then you need to have, you can't just have one thing as the turning point. Then you have to have things turn
Washington
and change
is too busy patting
the second time around. So it'll be really interesting to see how this debt ceiling debate turns out.
Yeah, it will. I think for perspective's sake, you only have really House Republicans who are considering making this a fight. And even they, behind closed doors, when I talk to aides, acknowledge that this isn't going to be a fight. They're not going to push it to the brink. However, they have to have some kind of fight. This is an election year. They have to bring something back to their district.
They have to show a fight, even if it's not a real fight.
Eventually, Speaker John Boehner
is like the WWE.
That's exactly right. You're going to have to stand on the ropes and yell a little bit. Eventually, Speaker John Boehner is going to pass an increase with a bunch of House Democrats. It's how it always works. But there's going to be a couple weeks here where they try and figure out what to do.
All right. Well, we'll see how that all plays out.